Hello, everyone, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for joining us. The first thing that I would like to say that if you are able to turn on your cameras while we wait to begin, it's always nice to see each other's faces. So please do it because it is very, very important for us. Thank you very much for opening your cameras. I already started to see some faces, some familiar faces and familiar faces. Thank you. And one more time, thank you very much for joining us today. Actually, your presence shows that there are still people who are committed to standing against corruption because today's topic of our webinar is about corruption and anti-corruption activities. It also means that you are leaders ready to learn, grow, take action, fight against corruption, and even its consequences. So thank you very much for joining us today. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Davit Petrosyan, who is a revolutionary activist and recipient of several awards from Armenia. And of course, the discussion will be moderated by Knowles, founder and executive director of the Kectil Program and Knowles Foundation. Of course, you will in the end have definitely time to ask your questions about the webinar to the speaker. And now, before we begin, firstly, I would like to ask Davit Petrosyan to briefly introduce Armenia, the country we are from. In about 5 minutes, just please, David, give us a general overview of the transition phase of post-Soviet Armenia toward the democratic one. And then we already will start because I'm sure that there are people who unfortunately not aware about Armenia and the situation we have. So we can start from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Guarik. Thank you, Ms. Knowles, for this great opportunity, and greetings to all from all people I see we have gathered from all around the world. I'm really happy that you are members of this amazing platform. I'm sure you are benefiting a lot from it and value it a lot because it's like the opportunity to connect with each other, to speak about this diverse experiences really is really important. So I'm from Armenia. Armenia is a country situated in South Caucasus region, south of Russia, east from Turkey, west from Caspian Sea, Central Asia, and north of Iran. We have like four neighbors. In the north, we have Georgia. In the east, we have Azerbaijan. South part, we have Iran. And in the western part, we have Turkey. So some of you maybe know, but we are really proud of it. We are the first Christian nation in the world. We adopted Christianity as a state religion in 301. After the death of Christ, we have our first alphabet from since 4005. Sorry, 405. Armenia, like we have seen a lot of empires coming and going through our region, a lot of challenges, but we have managed to keep our nation, our statehood, our church, our language, our culture, traditions. In 20th century, we're part of Soviet Union, one of the members of Soviet republics. There were 15 Soviet republics. Armenia was one of them, starting from 1920 up to 1991. And as the Soviet Union started to collapse, Armenia, as other nations as well, started to fight for their independence, for their democracy. Simultaneously, a war broke out with our neighbor Azerbaijan. We had a Nagorno-Karabakh region situated in Azerbaijan, which was which was like put in Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan by decision of Stalin in 1921. I don't want to go deep into the story, just want to tell that a majority of the people living in that region were Armenians who wanted to reunite with Armenia. Historically, it was Armenian territory. Some Azerbaijans were also living there. But as during the Soviet Union time, during these 70 years, like there was political, economic, cultural discrimination towards Armenians, like they wanted to separate and to reunite with Armenia. Azerbaijanis regarded this as a separatist movement, and with Moscow like wanted to suppress, which broke out in war. So in 1994, the war started in 1988, lasted until 1994, and Armenians managed to win a victory, but without any agreement or something, just ceasefire. Unfortunately, like starting from 1996, mostly we had falsificated elections, not fair, transparent, as elections should be. We had corruption was growing. It was connected with different reasons, but the fact was that we were also having high migration from Armenia starting from 1994 to 2018. Approximately 1,800,000 Armenians left Armenia. And this is a huge number for us because our population is now approximately 3 million. So like huge amount, huge considerable number of people. And uh, because of corruption and very different types of it, starting from like very simple bribes up to systematic governmental level corruptions, government like alienated himself, distanced himself from people. And power was changing, power were coming and going, but people were not really having their vote, like their decision. It was not connected with people will. And we had mass political protests, civilian protests, like opposition tried to change the power with elections. There were very active civil society, starting from ecological sphere, educational, law people, like speaking about human rights, freedom of speech. Uh, Fortunately for us, we have also had like some independent media outlets who were speaking about the truth. A lot of civil society organizations mostly operated also with the help, with the support of United States, European Union, like important foundations, non-government organizations, which provided important support not only in terms of finance, but also expertise and other stuff. Uh, so we had a state which was in a fierce conflict with Azerbaijan, which was growing stronger, and we were mostly in very deep alliance with Russia, being integrated in all like economic, military, political platforms. In 2017, no, sorry, in 2018, mass civilian protests broke out in Armenia with the aim not to let, at that time, then Prime Minister Sir Sargsyan to be re-elected. And the civilian protests transformed into Armenian Velvet Revolution, which is considered to be one of the revolutions in post-Soviet place, which resembles us about political movements that we saw in Eastern Europe when Soviet Union was collapsing. As you know, we also had Velvet Revolution in Czech Republic, led by famous Václav Havel. In Armenia, the protests were like uh, in the way that it was also very peaceful. No any people, no any, we even say no single window was broken during this revolution. And followed by the revolution, we had snap elections, and the leader of the Velvet Revolution, our current Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, was elected and the leader of the country. And Armenia's new democratic transition started. So if before that we were authoritarian regime, with all its trends and peculiarities, we started to transform into democracy. But 2 years after the Velvet Revolution, we had a war erupted with Azerbaijan. So Azerbaijan, uh, failing to meet like the obligations of both parties not to solve the issue with force, attacked Nagorno-Karabakh, and during the 44 days, managed to take control about a third of Nagorno-Karabakh territory. Then there was a ceasefire established with mediation of Russia, uh, which was very fragile because only after that, 1 year after, Azerbaijan started to attack Armenia's internationally recognized territory, and in 2 year period occupied more than 200 kilometers square territory. Then they invaded Nagorno-Karabakh, which resulted in ethnic cleansing of Armenians, and almost all entire population of Armenia, 120,000 people, were forced to leave their homeland. Now we are still in negotiations with Azerbaijan, but what has become very obvious, uh, neither Azerbaijan, neither Russia were interested in Armenia being democracy, Armenia transforming from authoritarian regime to democracy. And these challenges are not only security challenges posed by Azerbaijan, but also these are direct challenges to Armenian democracy. Because at the moment, Armenia is the only maybe like democracy in the region, because the development in Georgia, development in Azerbaijan increased authoritarian trends in both that countries. So we are still in our democratic transition. We still have a conflict with Azerbaijan, but we hope we will navigate through these difficult times and democracy will win in Armenia.
Yeah. So this is Sherry Knowles. Welcome to the Kectil Program. We're very honored to have you speak today. It's so important to hear from youth leaders who were willing to take a role in very important issues pertaining to their country, and in particular, corruption, lack of democracy, poor government, etc. Many of the youth in the Kectil Program face very similar issues in their countries. And you actually played a personal role in the Velvet Revolution. So we'd love to hear your personal journey on how you personally decided to take a stand and what you did to organize. You're on mute, so yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. And yeah, I'm very happy to share with my experience, because though we represent very different countries, but what I have recognized so far, the methods used by authoritarian regimes, like or like the people who want to keep monopoly in a certain institution, it can be educational institution, like starting from higher educational system up to until government, mostly they use the same methods. And if we fight for fairness, if we fight for equality, they fight for opposite stuff, because they want to have control over resources, have more power, have more money, and this can be only conducted if they have control over other people. So we should stand against it, and I'm very happy to share my my way to this. So it was 2017. I was second year student. I was studying political science at Yerevan State University, Faculty of International Relations, and we were informed that excellent students, like whose grades like were like from 18 to 20. In Armenia, the grading system is a little bit different. If in US, it's like the highest is 4 grade, like from 3.8 to 4. So in Armenia, it's like from 18 to 20. So these people, these students were receiving like symbolic motivational scholarship, very small money, actually, like in US dollars, it would be like $15. But in Armenia, like that, in Armenia, it was 5,000 dirham. Like with that 5,000 dirham, like you could have like 2, 3 times like small lunch. But it was something like motivational, like student well receiving motivation. So we were informed that these scholarships are being canceled. And like I wanted to know why they are being canceled, what is the reason behind them canceling, and I tried to understand what is the problem. And I approached one of my like professors, like trying to understand, like, can you inform me what's the problem? Like they told me, David, we don't have information, we can't say anything. Then I approached our student council, which is like the student representative body, which should protect the right of students, represent the right of students, who have representatives in board of Yerevan State University. And actually the president of the student council was my friend, because we served in the army 2 years. In Armenia, we have conscription, so all males, like if they don't have medical problems or like other problems, serve in the army. So he was my friend. I asked him, like, can they do anything, because they represent us, they protect our rights? He told me he will give me an answer. Like he will try to understand and will get back to me. But then he told me, like I can't say anything. University is having financial problems. It's difficult. Like I said, okay, just can you voice up this issue that like we are quite disappointed with this. We want our voice to be heard and like to receive more argumented answers. Not we have financial problems. Like when it will be restored or like what can be like substitute another support for this because it's like really like we are ignored. We are just known like you are deprived of your scholarships. It's not right. And he told me yes, but he didn't do anything. So I asked him, okay, like we want to have a meeting inside the university with students to discuss, to write like a letter to the rector and show our like disappointment that we don't agree with this. And they told me they can't give me a room in the university. I told why? Like we study here, we pay like our tuition fees, we're students. Like why can't we have a meeting? They told like all the rooms are busy, and if you want to have even one room for meeting, you should write a personal letter to rector. Like for you to know, like there are 18,000 at that time, 18,000 students at Yerevan State University, like approximately 3,000 administration overall. So I was surprised. So every person, every organization who wants to have one meeting at our university should write a direct letter to the rector. Like, doesn't rector any other important work to do? Maybe because of this we have financial problems. I think this is mismanagement.
Mhm.
So they didn't give us room. So we went outside, we had our meeting outside. People came. It was like first time like that in Yerevan State University students were coming to speak about their problems. And as we gathered outside of the university, I received a call. You can come and have the meeting inside the university. I said, no, we are fine. We will stay outside. We will speak outside. It's fine. We have also media coming. Media started to come, ask questions. And what came out? Students had a lot of problems. And this was like an opportunity for them to speak. So this problem of scholarships was only one issue. And students needed an opportunity to speak. Because it came out that like a girl who didn't like have like father, only mother, in that case, according to the law, they should have 15% tuition waiver. Like she didn't have it. And similar some other questions. And we come together, we then like now all started to speak about this because as we did something not predictable, they were focused on it and they were like trying to see like what we can do. And then we started our negotiations with administration. They told me like we will see what we can do, but they were still saying we have financial problems. We started a Facebook page. We started to speak about this to engage more students. And then we were informed that Prime Minister of Armenia is coming to Yerevan State University. Like, and this time he was trying to be to get more attention because we were going to have elections, so they needed like people's support. They needed to increase their prominence to be well known. And when he was in that big room, very unexpectedly, we raised papers. We want our scholarships. And Prime Minister saw this. He told, "Oh, what is this? Can I know?" I said, "Like, can I ask a question?" He told me, "Yeah, yeah." I told Mr. Prime Minister, like, I'm a student from Yerevan State University. We have heard a lot that you are saying that youth is our future. You emphasize the importance of education, but now we are having problems. This bright youth is having problems. We are not receiving our scholarships. Maybe you can show in work that you are really concerned about us and can help our university because our university has financial problems. Maybe state can help. And with this first event, like not to go only on this these scholarships were restored because the Prime Minister told, yeah, we will do something, and in 5-day period, they restored that we were informed that tuitions are going to be restored. But just one last information about this. 2 years after, I was not a student at that time at all. It was canceled again. And what we come here is the fact that civil society should always keep under control, like the government or other institutions. Otherwise, if the control is not strong, you will lose like the gains which have been like achieved. So we are speaking here about this system of check and balances, which we have in governmental level, but we should also have it in all institutional level. And you can read Taron Acemoglu's book about this narrow corridor. He speaks very well about it. I think it can help you a lot. And recently they received a Nobel Prize also. And this book is very important about civil society, watchdogging government and other institutions.
Mhm. That's an inspirational story. Did you ever think that you were physically in danger?
Thank you for that question. I know it's really very important. I like in Myanmar, what is going on, in some other places in the world, what is going on. People are really facing physical threats for their movements. At that moment, no. In that civilian action, there was no physical threat. But I will tell you another thing. Why not? Because we were dealing with university administration. We were not dealing with the power, like government. But I can tell you another thing that I started to know at that moment. Maybe our friends can also have this. So all these institutions which are monopolized by a several group of people, they try to develop their ways to control people. And yeah, the important way is corruption. And one of the corruptions is when you integrate some students, some youth, in your like group, and then using them to suppress other students.
Mhm.
So these students like can be regarded as like maybe more stronger, like they are working in groups, like small gangs. They are not actually studying, but they receive high grades because they do other thing,
Mhm.
not studying, but like uh, giving the debt. So I was informed by one of my friends that after after uh, 3 years of that, after the revolution, when the power was changed, some of friends approached me and told me that faculty dean asked these guys like to attack me and my friends in university, in the university corridor, like to fight us, so the other students will see that we are not so strong as they think we are. So, but they didn't do this because they thought that it will not work out. It will not like it will not stop us. But before the experiences, the last student movement, our student movement, it was in 2017. The last before of it was in 2013. And that student movement was suppressed by physical threats by students to other students. So, yeah, that's why what I can tell that one thing is very important when we deal with such institutions, when there is a corruption, when like law is not respected in the way it should be. It's not only the truth of our voice, like the facts that we are speaking, that give us strength. Unfortunately, before like establishing this fairness, we should be also strong. Because when we are combating with such kind of people, you must be prepared to answer them sometimes in the way that they are trying to threat you. Of course, we are against violence. Of course, we are against any physical threats. But we, as like people who speak, who voice up our peers' problems, we should be able to protect them. If we are not able to protect them, unfortunately, they will not stay with us. And this is the thing that's corruptional institutions try first to do. They sometimes not attack you personally, they attack the people around you. And this is like with disinformation, with like decreasing trust, speaking gossips, physical threats. They try to separate. And in order to keep the group unite, we should also be able to protect them physically as well.
Yeah, no, that's that's a great point. And we have, of course, Kectil colleagues all over the world in developing countries. Many of them are facing similar issues that you've talked about, and some deep corruption in their countries, which is economic corruption, being paid under the table, doing deals, private deals, selling off non-renewable assets, non-renewable resources of the country. Power for power's sake. You have someone who is a leader of a country that gets a certain salary, but all of a sudden becomes enormously wealthy, and you have to wonder why. How is that? How are the leaders becoming wealthy when their salary is set at a governmental salary? So these things happen all the time. And the youth are very often the victims of this because they're the ones who are creating their future. They need to, as you say, they need to go through university. They need to either get a job or start a business, or they have to start supporting themselves and eventually a family, and et cetera. But one thing that we do see is that there, certainly in Africa and in some of the other countries, there's a demographic issue here where the populations are very young. Okay, in Africa, in some countries, the average age is less than 20 years old, and so you're getting a population bubble that is going through. Well, when you think about, well, what is democracy? It's the power of the people. The young people numerically have the power. If you take one person, one vote, they are getting they're getting an overwhelming majority in certain countries, but yet they're not equipped, they're not trained, they don't know how to use that power of the numbers, the democratic numbers, to make changes in their country. And so the older guard and the corrupt people, the government, et cetera, who have been in power and are benefiting from that power for a long time, they put down the youth, even though the youth have the numbers behind them. Okay, and so one thing that we talk about in the Kectil program is that you've got the numbers. You've got in many countries, you have the numbers to be in control of what some of the decisions that are made in the government, and use that for good. Don't use it in a ill thought out fashion, but use it in a productive fashion. And what you were talking about is the power of youth in universities. They get together, they have to combine, they have to be strong, they have to be united. As you said, you have to be united, and you have to be willing to protect the people who are in your group, who are making who are standing out and saying this is wrong. So it would be great for you to give words of wisdom to the people on the phone here, the youth leaders on the phone here, and on the Zoom call, about the power of numbers, the power of youth, and how to use it productively, not to use it destructively, to use it productively, because it's never helpful to use it destructively, but numbers matter a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ms. Knowles. We had one phrase when we were having our second student movement. It was against the government law. So eventually we managed to organize big strikes, like thousands of students in the streets making protests. And what we understood at that time, so at first I will give this one example to give argument to the assumptions that you made, like what you have argued about the importance of number. So initially, when we sent a letter to the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Defense, like 20 people signed, 20 youth signed under the letter. We didn't receive any response. They didn't even respond to us. When we did our student strike, when like maybe 100 to 200 people were in our gathering and media was there, I received a call. as media showed our gathering, as they show more than 100 people standing in one place, I received a call from the speaker of the Ministry of Defense inviting us to have a meeting with the Ministry of Defense. So what we understood, so the influence is not coming from the truth of our facts.
Right.
Like you can say very important, very true stuff. Like you can bring facts, and you can be shocked that people don't pay attention. Like you are saying, this is like this. How you can't like draw attention? I want your attention. They will not pay attention. But if they see like 100 people speaking, maybe not even as truth as you, they will start to pay attention. So in such systems, number matters, and maybe matters the most. And only after that, people start to listen to you. And you see, as much your number is growing, people are listening to you more attentively. People are trying to take into account your interests, like trying to find consensus with you. And as much as your number grows, as much you are confident, and you can bring more demands. But in order to keep the movement, and it can be like not a very, when I say movement, I don't speak only about like reactive movements when we go into the streets, try to solve one issue. It can be proactive movement. Like we can fight for reforms, which can take 6 months, 1 year, but during all that time, we should keep like the number of our high. And for this, I can give like some mechanisms that we were trying to use. What is very important, maybe one of the important things, is the trust among the group.
Yeah.
As the people with you are like fighting, as they see that you are like growing, they identify like the leaders and try to invite these leaders to some conversations inside of closed doors, like trying to find ways with these leaders to solve the issue. And they can like suggest like personal benefits for these leaders, but leaders should not agree to negotiations inside closed doors. You should always say the negotiation should be public. Like even if we come, this should be like direct, like people should see what we're speaking about, like live transition should be. So, and we are not going to have any deals, which I'm not going to speak with my friends, with my colleagues. So, because these people, like if we are good maybe at voicing our problems, working hard to solve the problems, these people are really very good at suppressing these movements, and they know how to approach people. They don't approach everyone with the same way. They know like maybe this person has such need, and they are being informed what needs such person is, and trying to suggest that to meet that need in order to isolate, to neutralize this guy. So this is one of the first thing, not to go any enclosed agreements with the people whom we are fighting for, and so keep the trust inside the group.
Those are great comments. And, we've seen some of these disruptions occur around the world. It was last year, I believe, there was a disruption in Kenya. There was a youth revolt in Kenya, which turned out to be maybe not 100% successful, but certainly successful in that it changed some of the things that were going on in the government. But I think you're exactly right in what you're saying, that the youth had to stand together and be willing to stand as a group because the numbers do matter. That's what the government looks at. The government looks at how big is the wave against them? How big is the wave? If one person speaks, it's not going to make a big difference. But if 100 or 1,000 people speak, then they have to start paying attention. And I think that's a big lesson to all the people here. And in Kenya, and we may have, I don't know if Lennox is on the phone, but on the call, we had a number of youth leaders from the Kectil program who were involved in the youth uprising in Kenya. and it was very interesting, but there were some bad things that took place. Some of the youth leaders were kidnapped and they were taken away, and some of them were released later, but a couple of them were injured and hurt. And that was supposed to be an intimidation tactic they would just take a few of the youth leaders and they would kidnap them and take them away. So the rest of the youth would think, no, we can't do this anymore because we might be the next one kidnapped. But that didn't help because the youth in Kenya were so determined to make a change in what they were seeing that they kept going. We also see, of course, what goes on in Myanmar. Now, Myanmar is on an entirely different level. You have a military civil war going on there, and my goodness, and they're trying to conscript youth to go to the front line to fight their battles for them, and the youth are being killed. But if there was a youth uprising in Myanmar, a lot of them would just be killed. It's such a high level of war there that you get to a certain point, and peaceful protest doesn't work anymore. And then you do have to think about your life and your safety. I don't know how you deal with a situation in Myanmar. That's extremely difficult, and there are a lot of lives lost. There are a lot of youth lives lost. And we have one of the people on our board who was in Myanmar, and they were also, the military was going door to door to take all the youth between certain ages into the military, and they're basically going into their apartments, pulling out the youth and sending them up to the front lines because it was really terrible. And there were youth who were killed, and there were youth who mentally just couldn't take it anymore. So that's a level of which I don't know that we have a solution for. But in many of the countries, there's just abject corruption. I mean, at an extremely high level. And the youth leaders need to be aware of that because that's their future. In the Kectil program, we say, go try to find the contracts between the government and companies that are buying your non-renewable assets and giving the money to the leaders instead of to the country, or aren't paying taxes or have these kinds of deals. You have to be smart. You have to look at what does your country have? What does your society have? And how is it being protected? How is it being used for the benefit of the people? A country should have all of its assets used for the benefit of the people as a whole, as opposed to the benefit of the leaders. And we don't see that enough. So in Armenia, what kind of corruption were you seeing? Were you seeing this level of corruption where there were deals being made and money under the table and things in addition to what was happening at the university? And has that stopped? What progress has been made?
Yeah. So thank you for these important stories. I know about the situation in Myanmar. I have a very good friend in Europe, in Prague. Maybe you have heard about Prague Civil Society, Igor Blazevich. He's always voicing out the problem of Myanmar people. And even we with him together, we did a small sign of support, like with the flag of Myanmar, like with the symbol that they are fighting for. And with Restart, the organization that I worked for, like the organization that developed after these our youth movements, we shared some stories about Myanmar youth struggle, like translated some articles, like trying to increase public coverage. Yeah. In perspective, as an authoritarian state, we had like all types of corruption, starting from the simple bribes up to like systematic governmental level corruption. And it was not only about money corruption, but also corruption in way of like going out of one responsibilities, like taking more functions than they should have. like recruiting their relatives in office work, signing contracts with their relatives. And so the like one of the simple things was the oligarchy system. So this is when you are having member of parliaments or people in the government who also have businesses. So they're using this political office to flourish their family businesses. Like they can import a certain product that other people can't import. Like
Yeah.
other people can import it, but the tariffs are so high that they will not ever import that product. So another very important visible way was government contracts, like having contracts to build roads, to build schools, to build universities, because construction is a very good way to make money because it's very difficult to track. You can always postpone the construction. You can, like, we had one route in Armenia which has been like, I don't know even how many years this route is being built, like companies are changing, people are changing, money
Yeah.
is going, but the route has not been fully constructed. Um, so this was like systematic corruption. Elections are very important. That's why we were having observation missions, like youth mostly going observing missions, like, and for we were presenting this like as a battle, like you are going up from the morning like 6 a.m. in the polling station until like 2 a.m. you were in the polling station trying to protect people votes, because during this one day like very important things change, like who are going to govern state resources. So they're really fighting for that resources to have the control. Um, so uh, as for resources, what I can tell, in Armenia, mostly our minings are owned by Russian businessmen, Russian oligarchs. It's not transparent stuff. We are not very aware if they are paying all their taxes. We are very suspicious about uh, rights of people working there, like they're from the health perspective, like receiving salaries, having any promotions. So it like I don't say on that way, but such kind of stuff reminds like when we had colonies, when the metropolis were having their organizations, taking the resources, using cheap labor and making big monies, and then leaving land without any resources, with medical problems, with health issues to these people. That's why ecological movements were one of the big movements in Armenia.
Yeah.
From what can I tell? What I have understood so far, one of the big tools that we should use is increasing public coverage,
Yeah.
because such groups, it can be state, it can be these businessmen and oligarchs, they're afraid like more people to know what they're actually doing. That's why they like to conceal this. They even want to say, well, we're a small family. You don't need to voice up these problems. We can solve our problems inside.
Yeah.
So just know this is a manipulation. And when they're speaking this, you're on the right way and you should continue. And currently, the internet, the smartphones, making videos gives us the opportunity to voice these issues. And like that's why when you are in a certain movement, it can be against the government, it can be against the factory, it can be against the university. Try to divide responsibilities inside your group. Maybe someone is speaking well, so he can debate, he can negotiate. Maybe someone is like doing good writing, so he can make press releases to coverages. This happened today. This is the important facts. And you can share this via your pages. It can be on Facebook, Instagram, or you can even share it with media outlets, not inside your country, but also outside. Like you can write to famous like media organizations outside the world telling this is happening in our country. You can also share these press releases with international embassies. I can tell this works. During our revolution, when we were taken to a police station, like a lot of youngsters were taken to the police station, like without any argument why they're taking us. So, and they were keeping us more than they can. Like they should keep like minimum 3 hours, maximum 3 hours. And if they don't bring any specific guilt, like a paper that you are guilty for this, they should let you go.
Right.
But they kept us more than 3 hours.
Mhm.
And I visited the chief of this police station. I told him, if you are not going to let us in 1 minute, tomorrow your face, which I don't like, all the ambassadors will know. All the ambassadors will know that you are kidnapping people, you are kidnapping youth, keeping them in your police station. I told him I think the prime minister will also not be very happy with what you do. Though they make you to control people, but they don't give you right to kidnap people. And when I told him your face from embassies will know, he was really frightened because I thought he was concerned that he will be canceled visas with his wife to travel to Europe. So that's why he was, so this worked out.
That's great. Good. Well, I know that Goharik has some questions she wants to ask you because as she has lived through the whole situation in Armenia. And as you may know, Kectil is going to have its very first on the ground conference in Armenia in about a month from now. I'm actually traveling to Armenia. Never been there. I'm looking forward to being there. And this is a wonderful introduction to tell us what these issues are. And we're looking forward to a great conversation. We appreciate everything you've done, and also just to tell the youth leaders on this call practical tips. The practical tips you've given them are very, very important. We don't want anyone in danger, but we also want everyone to be brave. And as you said, these people who are in power, many times they're cowards. They're cowards. They don't like to see the light of day. They don't want to see their face in the newspaper. They don't want to see their name in the newspaper. They don't like big numbers of people because that scares them. So they like to do all their bad work in the dark. So sometimes light is a good cleaner. So go from there. I'm going to turn it over to Goharik, who's going to ask some questions based on Armenia. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, actually, I'm going to ask only one question, which should be the continuation of Sherry's question that we didn't get the answer. And then I will let the audience to have a chance to ask questions to David. So it is also, I think, very interesting to know how much has Armenia changed since the revolution. And because you are one of the most active revolutionists in Armenia, so how you can evaluate the situation now? And then we will go to the next questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Goharik, for this very, very important question, because I'm really very happy to share this story with our colleagues, because I'm sure they are going to succeed in their countries. They are going to have these democratic transitions. But one thing is to change the power, and another thing is to build really democratic institutions. So as soon as the power will be changed, you should know that all governments, all parties, all leaders, never mind how like democratic they were, how like they were good with you, like sometimes time corrupts everyone. And in order to keep democratic transition going, which is very difficult stuff, it's not easy. It's very difficult to build democratic institutions in countries which didn't have democratic institutions. It's not only about will, it's about expertise, it's about some objective reasons like having middle class, having people who really want to do that change. And to do that, you should have your institutions strong. So as the revolution or something happened, you should not dismantle your organization. You should still keep speaking about the problems and wanting very fast changes. The government will say, like, we need time to do this, we need time to do that. Like, we have now more important questions. We should know that time is never enough. Time is never enough. Governments are trying to do changes sometimes which are good for their power, but not for the country. They are trying not to do the changes which can harm their legitimacy. And you need to always keep watchdogging the government. And as long as you are strong, they will listen to you. As soon as they see you are not as strong as you were before, there is political change, they will not listen to you. And time by time, you will see how you are distancing from each other. Like they are getting new friends, new interests, new stuff, and you are still with your agenda. So in Armenia case, unfortunately, we have managed to keep watchdogging them, but we didn't manage all the changes. Unfortunately, Armenia didn't transform into like a liberal democracy that we wanted. Unfortunately, we still have these problems at our universities. The big problems are not solved yet. We don't have healthy political system, which means we don't have independent parties very much. Mostly the parties are ruled by like people who have some finances. Unfortunately, our judicial system is not fully independent. The prosecutor's office is not also fully independent. And civil society organizations don't have all like the necessary fertile ground to keep working. Moreover, we still see disinformation campaigns against civil society. We see oppositional leaders having problems with the law because they are just oppositional leaders. Yeah, so this will be my main thing. Never stop, because changing power is one thing, but building democratic institutions is more difficult. And that's why what I will advise you to read a lot about materials about democratic transition, because the problems that we see are not unique. Like in our countries, yeah, they're like different from other countries, but systematically, these are the same issues. Like you can see about democratic transition in Eastern European countries after the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1990s. You can see the failed democratic transition in Russia. You can see some experiences in Latin America countries after these military dictatorships were trying to transition into democracies. A lot of them are still in this vicious circle. But you can also see some successful experiences like Germany after the Second World War, Japan after the Second World War. Yeah, so that's why I will advise you to read a lot of books about democratic transitions, how the democratic transition should work.
Thank you very much, David, for your objective opinion and remarks that you did. And now I will give opportunity to our participants. You can raise your hands, you can use Zoom tools, and I will see your hands and I will ask you to ask questions. So if you would like to ask any question regarding the topic or the situation in Armenia or David's personal history, you can just raise your hands if you have them.
Garik, we have one question on the chat, if you can read it too.
Okay, let me see. How can we overcome the fear of speaking out and fighting corruption among today's youth?
Yeah.
Thank you, Martia Ali, Bolivia.
Yeah. Thank you for this very important question. It's not an easy task, because the fear is one of the main tools that authoritarian regimes are using to suppress our voice. But I will say you should start with small steps. It's very important to speak with the people. I'm not speaking like publicly, with your inner group. You should try to speak to understand like what is the main problem, how you should challenge this problem, not to go very public initially, but trying to build a group inside, to bring trust inside the group. And it's very important the tools, the ways that you are fighting. In case like there is a threat of physical threats or being imprisoned, try to use tools which are not harmful from them. For example, you can like try to like make videos like speaking about problems, but not like saying that we are going to change the power, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. Like start from small changes and try, maybe you can even try to a little bit ridicule, you know, like make theatrical movements, trying to make fun of all that corruption. Like, and when you make fun of these people, like a person who is taking the money, for example, who is taking the bribe, when you try to make in like in a theater like spectacle, it's a little bit different. And in that case, like they cannot like harm you on the way because like they will not understand what is going on, why they are doing this. But with this way, you are trying to dismantle like this very fearful like portray of them. Like because these authoritarian leaders are seemed like very strong, like very angry always. But when you try to represent all this in more ridiculous way, like ridiculize them, it can help. And also try to go with small achievements. If you have systematic level corruption in that country, like if you want the leader or this group of people to resign, you don't need to speak first about you should resign. It will not work out. They will identify you very fast, and the rebellion will stop. Start to go with low level issues. It can be a problem at university. It can be a problem inside your small village or your city. Like try to speak about the city council, about municipality, then growing like with your demands. Like if you are not speaking very much about political changes, I mean change of power, they will not, I think, pay very much attention. And when your group is having these small victories, the group is increasing trust in themselves. And then you don't see how, but you become big in number, you become stronger. It's not very easy to threaten you. And by time and time, you're increasing the level of the topics that you speak about. And your immunity to fear is increasing in parallel.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Rosalind Alionia. Do you hear us? Let me pin you and we can see you as well. Rosalind?
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yes, please tell us where are you from and go ahead with your question.
Okay, my name is Rosalind Alionia from Kenya. I am a proud Gen Z. We made quite a revolutionary movement in June 2024. And I must appreciate David for the good words of advice. As a country, because I know most of you know and you have been watching our stories, we stormed the parliament, we tried to take away the politicians, but in one way or another, the government kind of diluted our movement by buying off some of the influencers, etc. So I have two questions to David. Now, in Kenya, our revolutionary movement was a success due to the use of social media. However, most of Kenyan youths have been abducted. Some of them have never gone back to their families since then. Some of the Kenyan youths were prosecuted, were arrested, and some of them we don't know their whereabouts. How could you advise, in the essence that the Kenyan youths are now in fear? But some of us still feel we still are in the movement, we still are in the moment, and we can actually take out the status quo. But due to the deaths that we witnessed amongst our peers, most Kenyan youths are afraid of even engaging in political matters on the social media, coming out boldly to speak about corruption, because that is one of the things that is ailing our country. So how could you advise us? We are being abducted, we are being killed, we are being shot at, some people are still nursing injuries. And then the second question is, most Kenyan youths are afraid of joining political parties because we realize that we realize that as Gen Zs, we do not only need to say that our president must go, our members of parliament must go. We then sat back and decided in the next election we want to vie. Yeah, we want now to vie for the presidency. We want now to vie for the members of parliament, members of Senate to be elected and bring an alternative leadership. But now you see, the Kenyan youths are afraid of joining the political parties because these political parties are being headed by those people who are doing this corrupt leadership, bad governance, etc. But now you see, there's also a problem of contesting or going into politics as an independent candidate because of the dynamics of political processes. How would you also advise Kenyan youths? Because we are afraid of joining the current political parties. They lack the popularity within the Kenyan mass. And also, we are not ready. We don't have the financial masses. Most youths are never financially ready. They don't have the resources. So we don't have the resources of forming political parties. And we are afraid of joining the current political parties. So how can you advise? Thank you.
Yeah, it's not easy to actually give advice because what have you talked about? It's really very difficult, and I think we should all give huge respect to you for all the work that you are doing, because having physical threat, seeing what is happening to your friends, and still moving forward is not easy. What can I tell is public coverage is really important. Always speak about the people who are in jail or to whom like they killed or threatened or injured. Like always keep the memory of these people. Always try to voice up. Like never forget this. Yeah, so I think if they use violence, if they use physical threats, like I don't think the wise way will be to answer with violence, because in that way I think they will be stronger. So it's better to adopt more peaceful ways, like not to go in a fight that you know that you are not going to win, and give them opportunity to use more like force and persecution. In your case, I think if it's you can solve all like a lot of problems, a lot of issues only in case like you will have good people in the government, or you will be in the government yourselves, because there are some changes which can be done only by the government. I will not advise to unite with the parties which reputation is not very good. I'm sure that some political people, leaders, will really be happy to have you, because this will increase their legitimacy. They will use your name. They can say, yeah, we can be together. We will do all these changes that you want. But I'm for establishing your own party. And in the beginning, it can be not a party. It can be a civic movement, that you don't need to work 24 hours. You can still do other jobs as well. But the thing will be to keep your movement, because when you are having a reactive movement, it's easy to suppress. But when you are building an institution, like a proactive institution, no matter it's a party, it's a civic organization, something that has basis, that has staff, that meets regularly and speaks regularly, this is another level already. Yeah, I think this, and maybe it will take more time, but you can also understand that this is not the best time to fight, because maybe you should wait 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. But during this time, try to get stronger, because sometimes even when people take the power, they don't know what to do after next day, because they don't have knowledge, they don't have expertise, they don't have the team, they don't have the necessary allies. So you can use this time to get stronger. Maybe some of you who is interested in economic reforms, try to give you this question. If I was, for example, the Minister of Economy, would I know what to do? Like, what are the steps that I'm going to take? Try to think on this, like, to make your own group, your own people who are already like working on themselves. And I'm sure that in certain amount of time you will see that it's maybe night, it's time to act. But you should be ready on that time and be stronger.
Thank you very much, David. I hope, Rosalind, the answer was enough and satisfied by your side. And we are really proud what you do, how you actually struggle in Kenya. We saw, especially me, I saw a lot of videos, what's going on there, and it is very hard situation there, but we are proud of you, of the youth of Kenya, because you did a lot of already. So you should wait for your time. Ari Mahmoudi, the stage is yours. Please tell us where are you from and your question. Ari Mahmoudi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello everyone. I'm from Afghanistan. I'm very happy for being here. My question is, considering how girls in Afghanistan have been silenced and pushed out of schools in public life by the current regime, how can we empower young women in such environments to speak up against corruption and injustice without putting their safety at risk?
Another very hard question, David.
Yeah. It's yeah, I know about the like very, very difficult history that your country has. All these interventions from great powers and then changes in power. Also, all of this, it's not only about corruption, it's also about religion, ethnic groups, tribes. So, yeah, I think I'm sure it's not easy. But what can I tell when you want to like do some change in we can say I think stereotypes that according to our, for example, traditions, some people cannot do this, some people cannot do that. For example, women should not do this or men should not do that. The best example, I think, is personal experience, personal example, and always try to communicate with your peers why you are doing that. I can tell that in Armenia, when we were doing our first or second movement, we have very active girls. And the people who were mostly unsatisfied with the girls, like being very active, actually were not the boys, but were the girls themselves. Like they were like, I think they were jealous of their peers being more active, being more energetic, doing more than it can be done. But try to be confident in yourselves. Like, you know that you are doing good stuff. You are doing this for public good. And try to understand like to whom like you are speaking. For example, in different contexts, like taking into account who is your audience, try to communicate on that way. For example, if you are speaking with your peers, with girls, with whom like you have the same problems, the same goals, you don't need to be diplomatic. You can speak the way it is. But if you speak with people from whom like you can't speak like very directly, that you need like a certain amount of space or like a solution to move forward, you don't need them to pay very much attention to you at that moment. Try to show them that you respect their opinion. Like not say, no, I don't agree with you. I will change this and I will change this tomorrow. No, like you can say, yeah, of course, we understand. I understand your point of view. I understand that for girls to be active in politics is something new for this country, but you should know that this is not being done at the expense of like other people. We are not disrespecting you. We are not disrespecting our values or something like this. Moreover, we really like believe, we really respect, look up to our values, but we think that the best way we can serve to our community, to our state, is to speak about problems and solve these problems. You can say that, like you speak that this is good for me or this is bad for me. But it's about me, yeah? I should also have the right to speak what is good for me and what is bad for me. And I want to speak up this. And I can tell you that a lot of my peers who don't speak about their problems and who you think agree with you just leave our country. We have high level of migration. So we don't want these people to live. That's why we want to speak about the problems. And I think with this way, you will have more people who trust you. And also the people whom you are fighting against, these people will also try to start to respect you as well. Because I'm sure they will also start to look to the questions from another angle. Not people are very corrupt, but some of them really don't believe that something can be changed. Like, because all people judge based on their experiences, most of them. Like, if they saw 50 years of corruption, they will not believe that corruption will be solved. But you as youngsters, the one thing that you should do is always to speak to convince them that it can be changed. And maybe they even join you as well, I think.
Thank you very much. And also, Ari, you are here now, and this means more than the reality, because we know what is situation in Afghanistan, and I saw already a lot of girls from Afghanistan now on the Zoom and listening about the anti-corruption mechanism. So it means already a lot. So it means that you can change later a lot of things. The next question is Atifa Anabi. Atifa? Atifa, do you hear us? You have your hand raised. So let's pass the next question, then we will back to Atifa. Maybe there is some connection issues. So I see the question of
Sorry,
Daw.
miss, do you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Atifa Nabi from Afghanistan, but currently I'm in Bangladesh and I'm a university student. And I had a question in my mind for a long time, and now I'm happy that I can find an occasion to ask it. And I asked from Mr. Dawood that you know that our government actually collapsed down in 2021, and it is said that one of the main reasons that the former government, or we can say the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, collapsed was deep-rooted corruption among the top leaders like the president and also his assistants. And this painful experience actually showed that that corruption doesn't just block the progress, and it can destroy a big nations like Afghan nation. And as a leader that you are against corruption and you are working hard in this section, I want to ask you that why do such deep levels of corruption occurs in a big government? And also, more important than that, what real steps can we do as future leaders to avoid such big corruption happen in a government? And this is my question. If you would answer, I would be happy. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Your question has been one of the main issues debated in philosophy, political science. I think the first reason we have corruption in the government is that mostly like all people like are egoistic, yeah? Like all try to reach comfort. And unfortunately in politics, sometimes we're having people who try to use the power for their own interests, like to increase the wealth of their families, to increase their wealth of themselves, like to live the best life that they have imagined. And we should know that this is not like a thing common to only one nation, one state. It's common to all the people, right? Because we are all human beings. We are the same people, yeah. We have the same emotions, like similar goals, similar problems. Like all want to have like security. So this is issue that common to all. But why in some countries we have it and in some countries we don't have it? The thing is that the nations, the states who have been able to build institutions with check and balances, these countries have comparatively low level of corruption. What does this mean? Like we have branches of government, yeah, like we have executive part where we have prime minister, president. It differs from country to country. We have ministers, deputy ministers. We have judicial body where we have our judges who can judge people who, according to the law, and we have parliaments, national assemblies, which adopt laws according to which decisions are made. And sometimes we also have constitutional court who decides, it's part of judiciary, who decide what is against the constitution or not. So if we have the check and balances between these branches of power, if they watch each other, it means member of parliament watch the ministers not to do activities which are against the law, like act according to the program that their government declared when being elected, or where we have the courts making trials and deciding like what's wrong, what is wrong, what is right. When we have these check and balances, when they watchdog each other, the corruption level is low. But when we have the same party, the same people having control on all these branches, we will have corruption, because like if one friend is in executive, another friend in judiciary, and another friend in the parliament, they are going just to help each other to make more money and to keep their power. But if it's separate, they check and balance each other. Another very important thing is the developed civil society. Like the role of medias is very important, media outlets, speaking about the problems, because what is the thing, what is the role of the parliament members, yeah? The thing of the parliament members is to connect the society with the government. We elect them to power to represent our interests, to protect our rights. So we give them vote to go to the parliament and speak about our problems and adopt laws which will improve our life. But this channel, history has shown, is not enough. Because like we can have 60 members of parliament, even 100, even 600 members of parliament. But this does not mean that these 600 can represent several million people. It means we need more channels to speak about our problems, also about corruption. And for this, we establish groups, civil society groups. We establish trade unions. We can have student groups. We can have union of medical workers, union of people working in a factory, speaking about their problems. And we can also have media outlets. Why is media sometimes called fourth branch of power? Because with their voicing issues, they have a certain amount of power with which they make these issues solved, because they draw enough attention to it. So I think the best solution to fight against corruption, to decrease it, is to have first check and balances inside the political system and developed civil society, more importantly, independent media outlets.
Thank you very much, David. Now we don't have questions with raised hands, but I will go with questions which are mentioned on the chat, and I will read, we will summarize, and in the end, just because we don't have a lot of time, just you will answer the questions which we didn't have yet answered. So we have a question from Venezuela by Mario. The first part is already covered. It was about the online protesting in the online space. But the second part is about how do you think anonymous protesting is a good idea to remain standing brave but safe as well. So the next question you can mention or point if you want. So the next question from India, Lovania. My question is what to actually seek in while negotiating transparency in an illiterate leader who is in power and has a huge support of the public. And third question, okay, we have a question. I'm not sure favor Coyote is where from, but I'm from Nigeria, but let's see. Okay, so the question, the second part is, as a young person, how we can contribute to do something to promote democracy. So as a citizen or as just youngsters. So these three questions, let's answer and then go ahead.
Yeah. So in case of like being anonymous, yeah, not to disclose your personality, I think this can work. If you look to history, I mean, in totalitarian regimes, people wrote articles with different names, not to show their name, because the thing was not to just increase the popularity of themselves, but to voice a problem. So more people will know about this problem. So to do awareness raising. So if you are sure that the trust, the confidence on the information that you are disseminating will not be decreased because of a person speaking about it being like not disclosing his name, I think you can do it. And with your like imagined name, invented name, I'm sure time will come where you will disclose yourself, but if you think that from security perspectives, it's better to do on that way, I think you should do on that way. If you feel that this is at the moment, this is the most appropriate way, you know the best, because we don't know the context, we don't know the situation. But as long as you speak the problem, as you voice the problem, I think this is the most important thing. The second question was about
how we can now you can ask this question, what we can do as a person just to contribute to the democratic country.
Yeah. From my own experience, also from the literature that I read, political movements are really very important. Political change, power change is the most important because this is the easiest way to do big reforms. But when you just start, it's not very like you should not go directly into this political struggle. You can go to positional riots, rallies, if you have a party or a political leader whom you sympathize. But I think it's more important, even it's more difficult to start to speak about the problems in the institutions that you are working or you are studying. Sometimes people don't see the problem near them, but speak about huge, big problems. But we should also understand where we can have our influence and where we can make our small change, because it's better to do small change, which is not small. It's really important to have small change in small institutions, but to do really something. But just not to only speak, and speak about changes which will not happen with like that amount of resources. So I will advise to concentrate on the places where you study, where you work, to voice problems there if there are, to make people unite, to change these problems. Even with the people who are in the like ruling part, like who are, it can be rector, if they want to cooperate with you, suggest your service. Like, because our goal is not to change just someone in the government. Our goal is to change something in people's life. And if these people are able to make these changes, they can do these changes. If they want like our help, our support to do them, we can provide them that support. And we want them resign only in that case when they can't do the work that they're entitled to do. So I will advise you to concentrate on the institutions which member you are, and to try to do the real changes which are like smart, like specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and timely. And by time and time, you can increase or enlarge the sphere of your work.
Thank you very much. And we have last 3 questions. I will read. How can we, as young youth leaders, become best leaders without fear and with the hope of change, despite the challenges faced and corruption around us? This was the first question. The second will be, how do we go about protesting in an area where corruption is almost normalized, where even the citizens are okay with internal misconduct? What can we do successfully change the mindset of the population about corruption from within?
Yeah.
And let me find the last question. The youth may be considered naive and not being taken seriously when they start their movement. What do you think the youth should prepare for before they start their movements?
Yeah.
These last 3 questions.
So for the first thing, I will advise 2 stuff. First is to read a lot. Always try to read new books, new articles. Try to know as much as you can, and also pay attention to our physical strength as well. If we want to do something good for public, we must be ready to do it, and we should have the strength, both physical and mental strength. And there is so much interesting literature, materials about history, about political changes, about corruption. A lot of information. I'm like, mostly I'm sure that all the problems that we face, we are not the first people to face these problems. There were a lot of people facing these problems before. Like some of us, we have here people from very different countries. Some of you have seen stuffs which I haven't seen, and I don't even imagine. But I can tell you that reading books will open new doors for you, will give you keys to problems. I can tell you this from my experience. I'm reading a book, I'm seeing a problem, oh, this is like about my country. This is the thing that I was looking for. Always try to read books, advise your friends to read books, and it will change, because you will do something, you will do an activity, you will change something when you have changed all this something in your mental part. So I would advise to read and to put attention to your physical strength as well, because you need like good stamina. The second thing about corruption normalized, you should raise awareness. You should say what you are deprived of because of that corruption. Try to bring examples, like what some countries are, where they are, where they don't have corruption, and where you are, where you have corruption. And start to speak with small groups. You can start to speak about this with 5 people. You can start to speak this about 10 people, then 100 people. And each of these 100 people or each of these 5 people can speak about this with another 5 people, with another 10 people. This is how you start a proactive work. Some people want to go to say, people, we have corruption. They think that all millions of people are going to come and say, oh, you are right. So we will not have corruption from tomorrow. No, it's not easy. It's very difficult. But if you start to work with groups, if you start to empower other people as well, you can tell 10 people why corruption is bad. And when these 10 people know this, they go, you grow, then more people know. Just bring examples. And as you read books already, as you have the information, you can give examples and share this information with other people. So I think this is another important thing. For the naive, for the youth, yeah, I know what you are talking about. Be sure always the people whom you are going to struggle with to change something, they will always say you are young, you don't have enough information, life will change, you are still very emotional, life is not on the way that you imagine. Don't believe to these manipulations, because these are just manipulations. These people try to mislead you. They try to represent that you are naive. But there's one truth, I think. Every person knows what is the best for him. Maybe this best will not be the fair part, but all know what is the best for him, because that is why we have democratic elections when people go and vote. If, for example, youth are naive, it means that we should also don't have the right to vote. Maybe these elder people should go vote for us. But will not ever happen, yeah? We know this. So don't believe to these manipulations and try to convince these people, maybe even if I'm naive, but I trust fairness. And I would be very happy to be the naive person who trusts fairness, who believes in equality, but rather than being very smart, who doesn't believe in fairness, who doesn't believe in equality. So you can tell them, I would like you to be naive as me at the end, if they don't be convinced.
Thank you very much, David. It was, of course, definitely very interesting to hear you, to learn a lot from you. And as I saw, we don't have any other questions, but we have a lot of appreciations on the chat. Thank you very much. Of course, we really liked it. And let's see the all faces now. I would like to remove the pins to see everyone here. Okay, so if you can open your faces for the last time, and I can take a screenshot just for our memories, because we have never posted. So just for our memories to see your faces, because we are from different countries, from different continents, but struggling with the same problem or believing in the same thing. So it is very important to see you. Thank you very much for opening your faces and cameras. I will take just one screenshot. I will count up 3 and I will screenshot, but I will also skip the pages because we are a lot, so I need to do that 4 times. Okay, so now I see the all faces on my first screen. I'm going to take a picture so you can see. Okay. I got also messages privately, so I admit people here. So for that, I started to say something and didn't manage to end. Okay. You can smile if you can after this whole stuff to speak. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and the last time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. We are very, very happy to have you, and we hope that the case of Armenia was useful for you. You learned a lot, and you can compare also with your country situation and even try to find some solutions which already are done in Armenia. And of course, thank you very much one more time, David. It was very, very interesting to hear you, and it is honor for me to know you directly. And I'm very proud that we had this opportunity to share our country's example to the world, because we have here a lot of people, and unfortunately we had limited spots in the Zoom. We couldn't have more than 100 participants because it was my own Zoom, but of course we will have the recording one, and later you can one more time rewatch it or re-listen and start to think newly. Thank you very much.
I'm thankful for this great opportunity. I would just like to use the last opportunity to wish you all success in your struggles. I don't know, it's difficult when I heard some stories, it's difficult to give any advice. And what I have told, it was not just like advice, it was my opinion. Some of you have seen more than me, some of you see more difficult like struggles, more difficult problems. Just huge respect. I hope like everything will be fine. Some of you who have friends detained, like persecuted, I hope like everything will be well with you. I just wish you strength, belief, and yeah, as long as we are together, we are stronger. And I hope we can. I think Kectil provides this opportunity for you to share these experiences. This is already big stuff. And maybe in the future, when we'll be elder, when we'll be in some, maybe in some positions or somewhere, we can help each other to make not only our countries, but overall the globe better place to live for all of us. And so the youngsters which come after us will live in a better place. We have the chance to do it. Until we think, until we believe, we have the power to change something, and we should believe in this.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.